The Underground. It exists, it is a place, and in the Pokémon world, well, it exists as well, both the regular version and the grand version. It is also somewhere that most people believe we will go to in Pokémon Legends Z-A, and I'm one of those people. I believe that, as it makes sense thematically. But it's all speculation. But by the end of this video, it will still be speculation in theory, of course. The game only has a teaser, not even a trailer, but you'll have another argument to use in favor of that. So I am not so a strainer, and what about Diancie? Let's get into it. This whole thing about the Underground, like I said, it isn't confirmed. The reason it exists is because of Lumiose City's connection to the city of Paris. The sewers and the catacombs, which were actual functioning mines in the past, are important culturally to this city, and so it makes sense that they show up in the new Legends game. Still, there are not many things confirmed for Pokémon Legends Z-A. We know the game happens within Lumiose City, Zygarde is very likely in it, and Mega Evolution, the most requested thing every new game cycle, is finally back. You'll have Mega Pokémon once again by your side, and that will be a talking point every new game cycle again. Some things just don't change, like you liking, subscribing, and even considering becoming a channel member. But sometimes there is an outlier. There is something that just doesn't quite fit the pattern, or just doesn't seem to be there to keep the cycle going. In this case, when talking about Mega Evolution and looking at all the different ones we have, there is something quite like this. But before I tell you what, do you think we're going underground? Let me know in the comments down below. Mega Pokémon were introduced in Gen 6 with Pokémon X and Y, and they changed Pokémon as a whole, bringing battle gimmicks into the mix and even taking Pokémon lore to another level. There are, to this day, 48 different Mega Evolutions belonging to 46 different species, hooray for Charizard and Mewtwo. Out of these 48, 15 belong to Pokémon from the Kanto region, which makes sense. X and Y was a huge throwback to the Kanto region. Then we have 6 belonging to Pokémon from the Johto region, which is fine. 20 belonging to Pokémon from the Hoenn region, something that also makes sense since we did have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, 2 remakes that tied into the lore of Mega Evolution. Then we have 5 belonging to Pokémon from the Sinnoh region and 1 belonging to Pokémon from the Unova region. Both of these also make sense, they were far from the focus here. Oh, and I almost forgot, there was also 1 belonging to a Pokémon from the Kalos region. Now, this one doesn't make a lot of sense. So, you're telling me that they added a new battle gimmick to a certain region and then told you that one of the possible reasons it exists is a huge weapon being fired by a depressed king from that region, even though it isn't the only accepted explanation, but then only 1 Pokémon from that region actually was affected by it? Something does not add up. It is kind of known that Kalos was trying to quote-unquote revive Pokémon, and that's why Kanto was used so much and why so many Kanto Pokémon got Mega Evolutions, and then Hoenn was remade, so it makes sense for a lot of those to get Mega Evolutions as well. But at least give something to the starters or the legendaries. But maybe there is an explanation, and maybe that explanation is related to the Kalosian Pokémon, the only Kalosian Pokémon to get the Mega Evolution, Diancie. There are many theories about this mythical Pokémon, especially about its connection to the sundial in Anistar City, mostly due to how similar their jewels look. But I think the most interesting part is how Diancie came to be. There doesn't seem to be any speculation in the Pokédex. They say it is a sudden transformation of Carbink. Usually there is a lot of "it is said" or "researchers believe", but here it is a fact. Carbink turned into Diancie. It is not a case of evolution, and it is not a case of Mega Evolution, or else it would turn back to a Carbink. But it can be a case of constant exposure to the same energy that fuels Mega Evolution. I'm a firm believer that this energy exists all around us in the Pokémon world, and different variations of it are the reason for Dynamax, for Z-moves, and even Terra energy. It doesn't matter what Pokémon is the source, it could be Terratus, it could be Necrozma, or it could be Terrapagos. It is the same life force of Pokémon that is the base of them all. The same that the Devon Corp from Hoenn used to create Infinity Energy. Depending on how it is used or how it is manipulated, it changes how it affects living things. The ultimate weapon, a huge surge of this energy, changed AZ forever, and I believe that the same thing, or a huge or slower release of power and energy, was the same thing that changed Carbink into Diancie. And this is where we go back to the whole thing about why is Diancie the only Pokemon affected and why does that make the underground a lot more possible? Well, Diancie will be in Z-A. It's not confirmed, again, speculations, theories, but I think we all believe we're going to see the 3 mythical Pokemon from Kalos in the new Legends game. In fact, I'd be terribly disappointed if we didn't, after Legends Arceus made it possible for us to catch Darkrai, Shaymin, Manaphy, Fion, and Arceus. Diancie is a Pokemon that, like we've talked about, is related to Carbink, and while we have never seen a Diancie in the wild, as it has only ever been part of those wonderful mythical mystery gifts that us, the Pokemon fans, love oh so much, we have seen our fair share of Carbink in Pokemon games, with them showing up as recently as in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. And these Pokemon, while also found on the surface, they are associated with the caves of the Pokemon world, or something even deeper than caves like the Area Zero Underdepths. They are deep down in the ground, and I would be very surprised if we find any of them in the general area of Lumiose City. Sure, they might not even be in the game, I know, but I believe they will be, because if I believe that the Princess Pokemon will be there, then its loyal followers will definitely be around as well. And that's how they will explain how this Mega Evolution even came to exist. Because of the underground explains everything. The ultimate weapon was fired at something, and sure, it hit both sides of the conflict, we know that, but it did not hit Kalos, it hit somewhere else. The surface of the Kalos region likely was not affected by it. So, it is entirely possible that no Kalosian Pokemon were affected by it. Still, we know that the stones in Route 10 put out energy when the ultimate weapon is sleeping and absorb energy when it is activated. This makes me think that the ultimate weapon being buried affects what is around it, and its conception by AZ likely also did the same. I mean, it is kinda like a flower, it has a very plant-like appearance, who's to say it doesn't have some kind of root? It changed what was around it, deep down in the ground where no Pokemon live. No Pokemon, but Carbink. While not every Carbink changed, as their exposure levels were different, some likely saw some changes with at least one of them changing completely. This likely happened to a Carbink that was in what is Anistar City nowadays, or was already in the past. The explosion of power reached the surface and created a sundial, with it still having the energy to power up Mega Rings to this day. I know there are some popular theories that it came from space or something like that, but I do believe that it was more of a down-up situation than an up-down situation. This made it so Diancie, a Pokemon hidden deep down on the ground, developed an affinity to Mega Energy, which eventually, either naturally or through constant exposure to the ultimate weapon's leaking energy, made it so this Pokemon could Mega Evolve while all other Kalosian Pokemon were not affected by it. And there's just no way that that will happen in the surface when it's about a Pokemon so deeply connected to the underground. I'm telling you, there's something bad down there. We're gonna find out about it for sure because we're going there in Pokémon Legends Z-A, but there's something bad there for sure. Hey, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube member Dash Plays and Twitch subscribers Anubis Here, Lazarix and Zanes222 for going that extra mile. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much.